Who's going to be quarterback one in 2025? Pavia. Well, it's got to be Pavia, right?
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, there's lots of buzz in the portal for Vandy. They hosted a lot of visitors this past weekend. Will there be some commits coming soon? Likely. Also decisions will have to be made at the quarterback position too. And I believe they're doing the right thing right now by rolling the dice on Diego Pavia and trusting who they've signed, because let's face it, what Diego Pavia did to this program, I've said it in an earlier episode, they owe him. I think they owe him the benefit of that doubt. They owe him by taking that chance. If he somehow gets this injunction, which they actually feel pretty good about, then if he's able to come back in 2025, sky's the limit, because there's some guys out there in the portal that Vandy's going after, and they can be more hyper aggressive, which they already kind of are. They're going to be hyper aggressive in the trenches, which they are. They're going to be aggressive in getting wide receivers to come. And, I think Eli Stowers will probably come back as well if Diego Pavia comes back. So, just the impact there, I think if Pavia comes back, that might attract some more portal guys because, hey, they know Pavia is a star. They know Pavia is a leader. They know what this Vanderbilt program is more about than they did this time a year ago. Like it was hard to, at this time when the portal opened, it was hard to commit to Vandy. It was very difficult because Vandy had just went 2-10. They were pitiful. You're not going to commit unless you just can't get any other offers. Like you weren't going to commit to Clark Lee last year. So I think that the chance that Diego Pavia is coming back, the fact that Vandy has proven some things since this time last year, I think is making it a little bit more attractive, a little more easier. It's a little bit easier for Vandy to spend in the NIL market as well. I think they're getting more. Dollars to spend on players, and I think that's become more attractive. But at the quarterback position, honestly, the longer this judge stretches this decision out, I think that you have to look at it as, well, they've got to think long and hard, because if Diego Pavia does go to, if let's say Tuesday or Wednesday, the judge comes back and says, hey, we're going to deny it. You're out of eligibility. Sorry. And now Diego Pavia's left. Okay, well, I was already planning on being done with eligibility anyway. And then Vandy, I think there's still a chance that they could go get a portal guy. But then again, I just don't know what's out there. So first of all, I think you owe it to Diego Pavia to take the chance that he's going to come back. If he comes back, it's going to pay huge dividends, because the leadership impact that he had on the team alone is worth it. And the fact that he is a very capable runner, and he knows that he needs to build the pass game element to his game. And that'll be the number one focus. He'll have a spring practice now, whereas he didn't last year, and he'll have a chance to build some rapport with these receivers. He'll get a chance to really kind of develop in the passing game. And this Vandy team coming back on the schedule will be a lot more apt to be able to finish down the stretch, because you have some tough games down the stretch, right? So like if you get off to a hot start, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, Georgia State, Utah State. Those games right there, you have a chance to finish 3-2 at worst, given you beat Georgia State, which you should be able to beat Georgia State. I don't know what happened last year, but getting South Carolina early is something that's good. But just the impact that Diego Pavia has on this roster, he'll have these guys believing by the time let's pull this up again. He'll have them believing by the time they take that trip to Tuscaloosa in week 6, and this will be on October 4th. This will be a scenario where the team's feeling really good. This will be a scenario where Diego Pavia is playing at a high level, and I think there's going to be more around him and a better chance for him to get other guys to contribute so that he doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting. So if he's coming back, that's going to have a ripple effect throughout the entire roster, throughout the entire program. I think everyone in the McGugin Center feels 100 times better if Diego Pavia is back on the roster. Now, if he's not, because right now you're rolling dice, you're taking a chance. You've let some good portal quarterbacks go. Castellanos is going to Florida State. Van Buren is going to LSU. Jackson Arnold signed at Auburn. John Mateer is likely going to Oklahoma, but you still have a chance to make a push for him. I don't know how futile that effort will be, but he's likely going to Oklahoma and following his coordinator. So I just don't know what's out there and what you bring in to take a chance on. And the things that I've heard about Jeremy St. Hilaire have been great. I hear that he's the, obviously outside of Pavia, if Pavia leaves, there's belief out there that Jeremy St. Hilaire is the guy. And watching him play in high school, I believe that. And then you have Jack Elliott coming in. You have Will Muschamp's kid, Whit Muschamp. You have Drew Dickey out there. I think you have a lot of options on your roster as it is. I think Nate Johnson was going to get passed up. Blaze Berlowitz is out there as well. Like, what does he have to offer? He knows this scheme, and I think is a better passer at this moment than Diego Pavia. Obviously, Pavia is the star and the better runner than all these guys. But to me, you have plenty on your roster. I think you could possibly, with what Tim Beck and Jerry Kill are able to do, I think you can win with that. If you have a guy that has moxie and can get the ball out, I don't think you have to be a proven commodity necessarily to be able to be successful in this offense. You just got to be a good enough runner to where they can run you, and then be an accurate enough passer and throw on time to be able to get the ball out, because this thing centers around quick passing. And I think Jeremy St. Hilaire can do all of that, and he has leadership qualities as well that will help him guide the team if Diego Pavia is not on the roster, right? So to me, also, I have a hard time seeing what's out there. I have a hard time believing that what's out there is necessarily an upgrade over what we have. Like, I don't know that Caden Salter is necessarily an upgrade over Jeremy St. Hilaire. Like, I don't know that, because Caden Salter had his own issues at Liberty in a similar system. So what does that mean? I don't know. And I don't know that you spend a whole lot of NIL money and get yourself trapped in a situation that you don't want to be in necessarily, because you feel like you have to go get somebody out of the portal to play quarterback. I don't know that you have to do that. And I know that sounds crazy. I know everybody's like, we got to get a portal guy. Got to get a portal guy. Got to get a portal guy. If the right guy pops open, yes. But I just don't know where that right guy is right now. I don't know who out there is available that I would see. I would have loved to have gotten Van Buren. I think he is phenomenal. Unfortunately, LSU beat us to that punch, right? And so you're looking at another situation. It was once thought that Kyron Drones was going to be in the portal, but he's not. That's a name that I would say you go after if Pavia is not on the roster, but he's not going to be in the transfer portal, right? But there's just a lot of people out there that's like, okay, well, you got to get a guy just to get a guy, right? Zach Pyron, back up from Georgia Tech, he landed at Minnesota. A lot of people are A lot of people were hopeful of that. New Mexico transfer Devin Dampier, who I think a lot of people were high on from the Lobos. He's going to Utah. Like I think that's somebody that people could have gotten excited about. It's just, those things. Fafita from Arizona. I don't know that you have a chance at him. He might want to stay in the West Coast, but you have Preston Stone from SMU. He's got 1 year eligibility left. Do you have a chance there? Is it a good scheme fit? I don't know. There's a lot of question marks there, and you can't walk into this thing. You can't replace Diego Pavia with a lot of question marks, right? You have to, if you're going to replace somebody with question marks, it better be somebody that's already on the roster, because you know what those question marks are. You don't truly know what the question marks are, a portal guy, until they come onto campus. Well, these freshmen have been on campus for a while. So to me, I really like Jeremy St. Hilaire. I really like what's on the roster if Diego Pavia is not coming back. Now, again, some of this is I don't necessarily trust who's in the portal either. So it's kind of like a catch-22. To me, it's, hey, let's see how many linemen, receivers, DBs, defensive linemen we can get. See how many of those guys we can build around our quarterback situation, because I think we have plenty of talent. It's just a matter of building the pieces around them to be able to be reliable targets, to be able to block for and protect this quarterback, and to create a push in the run game. All of that has got to come together if Pavia or whoever's back there is going to make a difference. So we'll talk about some of those other notable visitors. We'll do that next. All right, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Now, if you put $50 on Devontae Adams, multiple touchdowns, you slayed, right? But the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Also, have you ever been to a chiropractor? Have you ever gotten aligned, your back cracked, all that good stuff? Feeling stressed? I think the Joint Chiropractic is an amazing place. I cannot wait to go back. Now, my schedule got away from me this past weekend, but like if you go and get your back cracked, if you go and get your neck cracked, now that's kind of a scary thing because you can hear it and it sounds way worse than it actually is. But you do, like, I literally floated out of there because I just felt so relaxed, so good, just so loose, And it was a pleasant experience. Seemed like the Dr. Nolan, especially, he had a very targeted plan for me as far as what's going on with my overall wellness and, all of that stuff. So I think they do a good job of trying to customize everything for you. So make sure if you want to be a regular visit, go to the one nearest you. But if you're in the Bellevue area, that's the one to go to. That's you can't miss with that. So the Joint Chiropractic, visit them. You won't regret it. Get on a plan, all that good stuff. And man, I just, again, I never thought I'd love the chiropractor, but I do. So here we are. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Hopefully, if you need a second listen, you're checking out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy does a phenomenal job. We squad up every single Thursday. It drops. Stephen Willis from Locked On Ole Miss, Zach Blackerby, Locked On Auburn, John Miller, Locked On Mizzou, John Williams, Jay Williams, Locked On Sooners, Brandon Olson, Locked On Gators, Clint Shamblin, Locked On Bulldogs. Like, it just, the list continues. It's the entire SEC. We squad up. It's phenomenal, dude. It's a lot of fun. So you should check that out. Locked On SEC. Do it. You won't regret it. So Vandy had a lot of portal visitors come in this weekend. No commits except from a punter. He's coming to us from Washington State, Aussie style punter. Again, Jesse Mirko had a really good, phenomenal year. And we're going to continue the trend of dominant Aussie style punters. So welcome to the mix. And it's going to be, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be good at punting for quite some time. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. But here we go. We had a lot of visitors this past weekend. Some notables here. Here's some notable visitors. I'm sure we had more than this, but here's some notable visitors. All right, Jordan White, Gunnar Givens, Antonio Kite, Marcellus Barnes, and Isaiah Satenga were some of the notables. Jordan White, going to go on the offensive line for now. Jordan White, Gunnar Givens, both interior guys, a lot of size. I really like this. Jordan White, especially. Former 4-star high school recruit, signed to Liberty out of high school, is really, really big on the interior. I feel really good about getting him. He's a product out of Maryland, but he's 6'2", 300 pounds. I like him as the quick guard, and I think there's a chance he's probably a little heavier than 300, but he's about 6'2", 6'3", somewhere in that ballpark. But he is. Again, I think I feel really good about him because when you look at how this offense plays, he fits tremendously, right? As an interior guy, he's somebody that's athletic, can move. I like him as the quick guard because I really like him comboing up to the second level. I think he brings a lot to the table there, and I'm really excited about that. Gunnar Givens has got a little height to him. He's 6'5", about 330-ish probably. I bet he'll play at about 325, 330. I like him as a strong guard, somebody that can, hammer down on combos, somebody that can take over a one technique, somebody who can block a man on, somebody who can engulf a gap, somebody who can take over a pass pro. I think what's missing is some really good, athletic, strong interior guys. Jordan White, I don't know if he can play center or not, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good news for that. And I think these guys add a lot of depth. Like Gunnar Givens, I don't know where he is as far as being able to start, but he's somebody that can add a lot of depth to this offensive line, and that's what this line needs, right? Talked about the quarterback. If you don't have a good offensive line with some depth, it doesn't matter. I could be playing quarterback. It won't matter because whoever's back there will be running for their lives. Can you imagine that, me playing quarterback back there, going back? Yeah, we'd probably go to the college football playoff. What am I talking about? But anyway, it's a situation to where, you got to build the interior guys. Like they don't get enough attention until it's completely foobarred, right? That position, you don't notice them, especially the center, but you don't notice them until there's a glaring weakness there, until there's somebody that just can't do it. And you really notice it then, but nobody really, I think it gets understated, but I don't think anybody really understands the importance of having a good interior lineman, a good guard, because even within the run game, there's so many combos that happen nowadays. Like when you're running a duo scheme, inside zone scheme, even on power, trap, counter, all that stuff where you're blocking down, there's combos there. There's so much movement. Like you've got to have intelligent guys that can handle things on the fly. You've got to have guys that can move bodies, which if they understand leverage and if they're good at combo blocking, then you're going to have some special guys on your roster there. You're going to have some true talent there. So I think if you can get both of these guys, and then of course Andrew Rosinski as well, He's a tackle coming from North Carolina. He's a little bit on the light side, could factor in as a rotational depth guy at the quick tackle. But again, it's always good to have somebody that's athletic. If you have good feet at the tackle position, you can pass protect. There's a spot for you, right? If you can block down, if you can block in space, if you can block a linebacker at the next level, if you can diagnose a blitz, if you can communicate, then you will work in the system. If you can understand the strong side, quick side thing where you're flipping and you understand your assignments and you're good, then if you can cross train too, especially that's probably the biggest quality that these offensive line coaches like. So, but if you can do any of that stuff, man, you're going to be walking into a starting position and you're going to do well. You're going to succeed. So, communication, technique is the biggest key. If you can keep both of those things and you can move bodies and you're reliable, which means like in training, knock on wood, I don't think the catastrophic injuries were that bad. Guys were bumps and bruises and beat up. That's what happens in the SEC. But, I think that this strength and conditioning program, once there's a full cycle, which this, a lot of these guys will experience, there's different phases to it. And I'll break that down more in the off season, like the phases of, it's like a 4-quarter system type scenario with strength and conditioning to some regard. Now it's customizable within those concepts, but usually it falls in like four categories, which is broken up into like the 4 quarters of the season. But nonetheless, these offensive linemen are training differently and they're more durable. And the more durable you can be, the more reliable you can be, the better communicator. You have to be smart. You have to recognize things because defenses are so dang smart. They move so much. They start in one gap, they end up in another, and they're back in your gap. And you're just like, and if you're there with your head on a swivel and confused, your quarterback just died. So you don't want that. So anyway, Jordan White, I feel really good about him. I think he's super talented. Building that Vandy to Liberty pipeline, apparently, started with Chase Mitchell, now bringing in Jordan White. We'll see where that goes. I feel really good about it, and let's make it happen. And we'll talk about more of these guys next. Some of the skill guys that are coming in, I'm really excited about them too. We'll talk about them next. All right, it's that time of year. The college football playoff is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern. Leading us into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. And I don't know if Charles, Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie are going to host the college football playoff show. I hope they do because they could host anything and it would be exciting. But nonetheless, the Clemson Tigers will look to upset the Texas Longhorns in the showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern, and you don't want to miss any moment of that action. So you can watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. All right, welcome back. We are wrapping up the show here. Locked on Vandy. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. I got my morning started off with a Creve Hall bagel. You should do the same. Anyway, talking portal visitors, right? Talking positions of need. Offensive line had 3 really important offensive linemen in. To finish out that list, Isaiah Glass from Oklahoma State he was their starting offensive tackle. He's a little undersized height-wise, but, sitting at 6'4", 6'4.5". But he's right around probably the 310, 315 mark, probably, if I had to guess. I think these are his high school numbers. But, again, he's somebody, I think he has 2 years of eligibility. But he is visiting Vandy, or he has already visited. So I feel good about that. If we can, I think there's a position for him, of course, there. And then Andrew Gentry from Colorado, by way of Michigan. He's offensive tackle, monster guy. He is very tight to the vest, but he was in Nashville visiting So maybe the allure of coming to Vandy, maybe a little NIL, maybe a little bit of, hey, you could be our strong tackle and just road grade people. But that rounds out the list of notable offensive linemen that are visiting. So a couple tackles in the mix too. I don't want to just focus on just the interior guys, but there's a lot of talent here. More talent at the offensive line position that is seriously considering Vanderbilt than I've ever seen. And this is exciting. This, like, the fact that Jordan White, former 4-star recruit from Liberty, he's going to visit Michigan. He's got visits scheduled to Miami, South Carolina, and Colorado. And he may just cancel some of those. But the fact that he is visiting and highly considering Vanderbilt, Isaiah Glass, he's a starting Big 12 tackle at Oklahoma State. The fact that he's considering Vanderbilt is outstanding. Whether he signs or not, I think that just the fact that he's on this list of guys that have legitimate interest, not just, hey, they visited Vandy because that's just on their list and they wanted to go to Nashville. Like, there's a legitimate chance here. Andrew Gentry the same way, and then Andrew Rosinski, which he's more of a project guy, but again, just the fact that, you know, you're getting some of these big time guys. This list didn't exist a year ago, I can tell you, because I was doing the show. I was scouring the depths of the transfer portal news. I was making stuff up last year, just trying to figure out, hey, we should go after this guy. And then that person would end up signing at Michigan State or somewhere, you know. But these guys, there's some legitimate interest here. And Vandy's in a bowl game too, so that gives me something to talk about, which I'll have to get back to that topic here pretty soon. But some really good offensive line targets should just kind of let you know where this program is as far as I don't want to say prestige, but like, you know, where they are. I think we're a little bit more of a legitimate option because people know Clark Lee's going to be there. People know that this is a good scheme. This is a good program now. The changes that were made have worked. So, but the other visitors that I really like on the defensive side of the ball, Antonio Kite, Marcellus Barnes, two defensive backs that I feel really, really confident in if they sign. Martellus, I keep wanting to say Martellus, but it's Marcellus Barnes. And I really like this one because he's coming from Syracuse, which means that he was committed to Georgia, and his position coach was Fran Brown at Georgia. He became the head coach at Syracuse. He followed him there. He played 133 snaps on defense over 5 games as a true freshman. He's 6'1", 180, so he's got the size. He's got a good bit of eligibility left. I really like this because somebody that, you know, you can't teach 6'1" at corner, right? And this guy has good ball skills. You know he's been well coached to that position because his head coach is a DB's coach. And in high school, you know he was well coached because he came from Macaulay. And guess who else played at Macaulay? That's right, Carson Lawrence. And they overlapped, which, I mean, Marcellus Bennett. I keep wanting to call him the tight end from Texas A&M that played for the Cowboys a long time ago, who was on Hard Knocks. Marcellus Barnes. And Carson Lawrence, they overlapped at Macaulay, and so they're teammates. I guarantee you Carson Lawrence is putting the hard sell on him. And I think it'll work. And I think this guy will be good because he'll come in, he'll work hard. He's got good technique already. He'll refine that, and I think he'll do well in this league. And I think he'll have a major impact on this program. And I think he's going to be, you know, I think he's going to be somebody that's going to be really, really good. And so I'm really pumped about this. I think he could walk in and start. I think he has that kind of capability. He played a ton at Syracuse, and they had a really good season. They helped Clemson get into the ACC championship by beating Miami, and they just, again, I really like what Fran Brown has going on at Syracuse. If something ever happens to Clark Lee and he moves on, I want Vanderbilt to go after Fran Brown because I think he's going to be a really good coach. But I think he's going to be something special. I'm surprised he's lasted. I don't think he's going to be at Syracuse too much longer is my main point. But this would be a hell of a get out of the portal. Antonio Kite, you get nervous because he was dismissed at Auburn. but he's talented. I think he could fit in. I think the leadership on this team is strong enough. I think the culture is strong enough now to where he'll come in and he'll just kind of integrate. With Colby Taylor, I think you could point to him and say, well, what about Colby Taylor? Well, I don't think the culture was set up well for him. And I think he just kind of, some guys just kind of don't fit into that kind of thing. Maybe he'll reform. Maybe he'll fit in. He's not in the portal yet. So maybe there's a chance there. I mean, he's 6'4", for crying out loud. Like the guy has all the measurables. I don't think he has what it takes to play on the outside as a corner, but that guy could come in and play in the box, on a slot, on a tight end. Like he could erase some of those coverage mismatches. But, again, this culture is good enough to where I think you can take some not big risk, but like you can have a little bit of risk in who you sign, more so this year than last, because I think you had to be really careful last year. I think this year things have established a little bit better. And so I think whoever comes in will be, I think will fit in a lot better. I think the leadership will make sure that they fit in and fall in to a certain degree. But I also really like there's a receiver coming in. He had 37 catches last year for just a touch under 500 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown was on the road at Auburn. Isaiah Satinga from Arkansas. He is a redshirt sophomore, so I think that means he has 3 years left. So he is a former top 150 recruit, third team All-SEC, freshman All-SEC. But he's somebody that I think can really add some depth to the room. He's somebody that not a ton of size at 5'11", but he's a guy that plays. He's 5'11", but he plays like he's 6'5", and it's somebody that can come in and just add a little pizzazz to the room, add a little playmaking ability, some blocking, some toughness. I think he can add something because he's a gamer, and he's not going to be your fade guy, but that's okay. Malachi Coleman is somebody that's out there that I'm thinking is gonna pop to Vandy as well, and if you get those two guys on your receiving core to add to this group of freshmen and rising sophomores or redshirt freshmen, you're gonna have a really you could have a chance to have a really special group. But they just need some leadership in that room from some veteran guys that have done it before, and this guy has done it in the SEC. This guy could be the Steven Lasoya of the wide receiver room, where it's like you're wondering just how talented he is, but he knows the league and he can provide that insight. He can provide that guidance to these younger guys. And he makes a bunch of plays himself, but he also opens the door for a lot of other guys. So I think that would be a good signing as well. And I would be very excited for him to sign. But speaking of being very excited, I know you guys are excited to hear that this is all I've got for you on this episode. We'll catch you back here tomorrow. Some bowl talk, some more portal talk, all of that good stuff. Plus, we're getting closer to Christmas. So I'm excited about that too. Yay. Good night. Anchor down.